On Fridays, we are graced with these two gentlemen, really overqualified to be here. I'm grateful that they do both show up every week. This guy is a Peabody Award winner, and he's won that Murrow Award, all that journalism stuff, Emmy Awards, etc. Former senior correspondent at ABC. He was camped outside the White House. He was the White House correspondent for a long time. He knows the ins and outs, Kim.
Yeah,
He's Jim Avila, everybody.
That's right.
Good morning. I actually had a seat inside the White House. I did not have to camp outside.
Well, I think sometimes you camp out, don't you, on the waiting for your wait a minute.
He has a cushy chair in the White House press office, please.
We have a nice chair on the inside, and we also have a booth in the inside, and we also have a little tent on the outside.
Do you know who I am?
Jim, is it not true that when you're waiting for them to come to you for that live thing where you're going, that's right, David, President Obama today, whatever, you need to camp out on the White House lawn. Is that not the case, sir?
I stand in front of a camera out inside of the front.
All right, thank you very much.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell
at no point brought my camping gear.
All right, yeah. This guy, I just saw a great piece. In fact, I was going to run it, but we don't have time. Michael Shure did a great piece with Trump supporters at one of these Trump rallies, I guess, and it's brilliant. He did it for TYT. And Michael, I'm so sorry I don't have time to run it, but I will maybe even link to it, or I'll run it early next week, because you brought them on and you do these conversations with Trump supporters, and you see the cultish nature of at least the ones that were at that rally. You talked to a lot of people, and they became sort of tripped up by a lot of your questions. They couldn't really understand why they supported Trump when you because it was brilliant. Love your stuff. He's reported from all over the world, and he goes to these Trump rallies and all the rest. How about it for Michael Shure? You can find him on TYT.
Point out that every time, whether for 1 month periods or 2 weeks or 1 day that I have covered the White House, all the networks that I've worked at did not have a chair at the White House, and we only reported from outside. We'd stand the way back on the inside, but we never had the coveted chair or I never had the coveted hard pass, which is the currency of the White House. Which Jim has,
he looks all smug. Look at him. Yeah, that's right.
He's the real thing, Avila. I mean, it was not he wasn't running
on a Montreal Canadiens hat. You're already smug. So
it has to do with the outlet, not the person. I worked for ABC. They have a front row seat. That's whoever.
Yeah. No, that's very nice. False modesty. Well done.
Yeah.
But
of course, you have to work real hard to get to work for ABC.
Thank you very much.
Or at least you used to.
That's
right.
To
have to work.
How did you get to it?
Come on.
Practice.
The back and forth. Yeah, they just they hired Avila because he was sexy. Let's get to I suppose the. This is a lot that happened this week, and I do want to get to as much as we can. Yeah, I was going to say, this Hunter Biden plea deal collapsed, and now a special counsel has been named in this Hunter Biden case. And it's the same counsel, isn't it, guys, that handled the case to this point for the government. Can you speak about this, Jim?
It was somebody.
Mike.
Go ahead,
sorry.
Michael.
Yeah,
it was just. I was pointing out there was somebody that was appointed by Trump and retained by Biden. Because they were in midstream in that investigation. Similarly, Merrick Garland wanted to stay on the same boat that he'd been on throughout. But Jim can take over from here. I just was saying that David Weiss, that's who he is.
Yeah, and I don't think that it changes much. I think it was a perception deal that Merrick Garland, who was very, very, very careful, decided that because of the political blowback from Republicans, even though, as Michael points out, this was a Trump appointee, there was an IRS agent who admitted in front of Congress at his hearing that 90% of his suggestions were turned down by prosecutors. But he claimed that Weiss was not able to proceed as he wished, and it was being held up by the Justice Department downtown. So what Garland has done is remove that that complaint by appointing this person to the special counsel now, upgraded his title. The special counsel does not have to have all of his decisions reviewed by the attorney general. Although, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, when we had the special counsel, when we had the special counsel in the Trump case, Bill Barr did, in fact, have to approve any charges or anything like that. I still think the U.S. Attorney General has to approve the charges. So I'm not even sure that it has that much of an effect. It's mostly a perception issue as I see it, being able to say we're doing everything we can.
There is a difference between a special counsel and an independent counsel. And I think that that is where the relationship that they have and what is required of a special counsel to the attorney general is different than an independent counsel. And so and Barr and Mueller had known each other for a very long time. So it wasn't as if there was this kind of unfamiliarity that may exist between Garland and Weiss. I don't know. But so I don't know what the legal holdup for Weiss will be with Garland and what Garland surrenders by giving this to Weiss, other than the fact that Weiss now can kind of go ahead with his investigation. But I do believe he has to check in with the attorney general.
And it appears that he can charge now, at least this was the big complaint, he can charge now anywhere. Like he can take a DC case if there's a DC problem and charge it because he's a special counsel now and not restricted to Delaware. Although he said in letters to the Congress that he wasn't restricted in that way. So it seems to me like it's rhetoric and not much in reality.
I'll just say as an aside, I'm not a fan of Merrick Garland. I think he's slow walked this, and we've gone around last week about this. So I know I may be the lonely voice on this, but I'm astounded at how Garland bends over backwards to avoid political blowback. But to be perfectly honest, it might be the smart thing to do. I'm not sure. I mean, clearly there's a political aspect to a lot of the decision making that goes into when you charge, how you charge. So maybe this is the right thing to do. I wanted to mention to you, in the Trump case, it just happened today, the judge in the Trump case kind of giving a little bit of ground to Trump, it seemed, in terms of that protective order, but not all the ground to Trump. I wonder if you could speak to that. That's in the J6 case. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, basically, you pretty much said it. Trump is now allowed to speak about some of the case, some of the evidence against him in public. However, he's on a tight leash with that. The prosecution, because of threats that Trump made publicly on Truth Social and places like that, wanted to restrict entirely the former president's ability to talk about the case. The judge saying that Trump is allowed to do that with restrictions, with certain pieces of evidence, that he's allowed to talk about a bit the case against him. But his defense team was admonished, though it was, I would say, a ruling for the defense. His defense team was admonished to keep their client in line, and no lawyer has ever been able to do that with Trump. So it's almost setting it up to fail.
She didn't. She said very clearly, though, to his lawyers that yes, he has First Amendment protection, but the First Amendment protection does not extend to threatening witnesses, threatening the prosecutors, or revealing certain evidence that is sensitive. So, he continues to have restrictions. Was it as strong as I would have liked? I mean, heck, I'd like to see him in jail for that threat on the internet. To if you go after me, I go after you. I mean, if I'm a witness in that case, would I consider that a threat? Yeah, I consider that a threat. And I don't know why she didn't come down harder on that. But judges do that. That's what they do. They take the middle road if they can. If there's any room to give it to Trump, they're going to give him a little room until they can't anymore.
And going back to something Jim mentioned earlier, Mark, is perception, right? I mean, you saw two sides of perception and action today to a degree. You saw this judge in the Trump case lean toward the defense and lean toward parity in that way, and then going on the other, or impartiality, going to the other side. You saw Merrick Garland say, okay, we'll investigate the son of my boss with a special counsel, who, by the way, I can fire, right? I mean, the attorney general, regardless of what the rules are, and I'm not certain that I'm right at all about the independent counsel versus special counsel. It may just be the names of the and titles, but he does maintain the ability to fire that person if something goes awry. So, but you saw two different parts of perception in play today, and that that's what we get in a year and change ahead of a presidential election.
Yeah, it's interesting, really trying to split the baby a little bit. I want to go back because I've got a super chat about Hunter Biden again. Sweet Ed Dragon says, isn't the whole thing with the special counsel a way to lay the Hunter Biden nonsense to rest? Is that, speak to that if you would, please, Jim.
Well, I don't think anything is going to lay it to rest. I mean, the Republicans have been embarrassed time after time in their hearings. They called Hunter Biden's business associate, who said on the record that Joe Biden had nothing to do with the business. But that didn't stop them from, I still see Fox News going crazy about Hunter Biden every day. So is it going to make a change? No. But it does give Democrats more ammunition to fight back and to say, wait a minute, you've had a special counsel, you've had these hearings, you still haven't come up with a connection between Joe Biden and Hunter Biden as far as business and practices illegally are concerned. Now, look, I'm the first person to say that Hunter Biden should be punished for anything he does, and that he is sleazy and he has traded on his father's name. We've heard him do that. What there's no evidence of is that he wasn't lying about those things, is that Joe Biden never actually got involved in his business. That, and then, and I'm not a fan of whataboutism because it's usually used against the Democrats. But how you can say this over and over and not mention Jared Kushner and his millions of dollars that he got from the Saudi Arabians when he was in charge of the Saudi Arabian, of being in connection with Saudi Arabia for this country. It makes no sense.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I made
the Mideast deal. Yeah, there's no question. And to add to that, what the Dragon was asking in terms of whether or not this lays it to rest, it's not without risk, right, for the Democrats and for the Attorney General. Is there something that Weiss is going to uncover in this time? Is there evidence that wasn't given yet that could change perception there? So it's not without risk, but it does definitely arm Democrats with the ability to say, see, we opened up all of our books and we let you do all you could with Hunter Biden. And trading on the name, come on, John F. Kennedy Jr. didn't trade on his name, and Chelsea Clinton and Jenna Bush and all these people. And you can't help it. It's implicit when your last name is Biden that you are going to have doors open to you because your last name is Biden. Again, I don't know. The guy had a drug problem. He had a lot of tragedy in his life. And was he, did he make mistakes? Of course, he made enormous mistakes in his life, and he's an adult and he has to own up to them. And I think he had. And that plea deal, I thought, was the kind of plea deal that no ordinary American would have gotten in the first place. It was punishment to me in the way I look at it. And I'm not just forgiving of it. I just think that most Americans wouldn't have to even face what Hunter Biden would have to because of his
civil case.
Yeah, and because of his name. But yeah, people trade on it, and there is whataboutism, and there is Kushner, and there is Ivana Trump, and there is all of that goes on and on. But by the same token, that's the way it shakes out. So I think that the Democrats will likely have a chance to say, hey, look, we opened it up, and this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a question of whether the Democrats are always wanting to show you, look, we opened it up, and the Republicans are always just jihadists. So I don't know that it matters, but at least
it may not matter, and they may find something too. It may look.
As you say, it's a tricky.
But I don't know that he has any more power as a special counsel than he did as the, if you believe what he said, has said that he was not restricted in any way and could go anywhere and do anything. Well, how has his powers changed? I don't think they've changed. I think it is a perception thing myself.
Kushner did get the money after he. Let me just speak to this quickly. John Slade, didn't Kushner get the money after Trump left office? Yes, of course he did. But the idea is that it's a quid pro quo. The money comes after you leave office, but the deal you make is during the time you're in office. And I'll say something else about Jared Kushner. His brother, and you should Google this because it will astound you. His brother made out like a literal bandit during COVID. He was shoveled all kinds of business from his brother, Jared Kushner, and it was sick. The amount of money is sick.
Google it.
Yeah, Google it and read about it. It'll make your blood boil.
And it doesn't have to be a living person. Look at the Trump Hotel, right? I mean, look at the emoluments there. I mean, it's the name of a president, a leader. It's going to get people in the door, and it did in those cases. And one more thing about perception is that Jim's wearing a Cubs hat, not a Montreal Canadiens hat.
That's true. I was going to point that out later on.
As he sits closer, from a distance, it really did look like a hat.
And one other point on that last caller or poster. The allegations against Hunter Biden are that he took bribe money before, in between the time that Biden was vice president and when he became president. There's no allegation that at this point that there's not even an allegation that he did it while Biden was president either. So
now let me get to what happened in Ohio this week, because this speaks to what Avila has spoken of and what Shure has spoken of as well, and that is this blowback that the GOP is going to face from the electorate that doesn't like this continued effort to roll back women's reproductive rights. And in a move that was sort of underhanded, I would call it almost sleazy, to put this referendum up in the middle of summer, and when voter turnout is naturally depressed, and reproductive rights aren't really what the referendum is about. Maybe you guys can say that, but the vote wasn't even close. So, Jim, I thought of you when the results came in, because I thought, well, this is what Jim's talking about. And he feels that this is going to, and you as well, Michael, you've made the point. You feel like this is going to carry over into the next general.
Well, my track record will bear this out. I have a lot of experience with women. I am not an expert with women, but I can tell you that women are determined. They do not forget. If you snub them, you will pay for it. And the Republicans continue their war against women. And it is not working, even in their own states, even in places where they have the majority, places that you would expect the Republicans to win. And, kudos to the female voter who are so upset about losing their rights to choose their own doctors, to choose their own medical care, and they will not sit still for the Republicans continuing to take that away. That is going to lose them every election, that this continues to be an issue.
Yet 3.1 million voters came out, right, in August, in an election that wasn't just abortion, that in some ways was convoluted to the average voter and why this affected abortion. But of those, the women came out, 60% more came out this time in Ohio than came out in 2022. Those are early voters, more black voters, more young voters. Young voters coming out on this issue, and they're coming out only on this issue in ways that they haven't in the past. That is only going to help Democrats and hurt Republicans. And so that's why this is, that when we talked first about the Dobbs decision being overturned, or the Dobbs decision overturning Roe, that there is a silver lining, albeit perverted silver lining, to losing an issue like this, is that it gets people animated, it gets people activated, and it gets people out to vote. And that's what Ohio, in a nothing election in the middle of the summer, that's what it proved.
No consensus.
The demographics
go ahead. Yeah.
The demographics in the electorate do not favor the Republicans. The young voters are coming in, this Generation Z. It's very, very Democratic, and they're really putting the pressure on Republicans. Republicans are flailing away to find ways to stop people from voting, because if they count the votes, they lose.
And there's going to be a moment at a presidential debate that is going to be shown over and over again, where some journalist is going to ask the Republican candidate about abortion, and the Republican candidate, beholden to his caucus, is going to have to answer that in a way that is really not going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the division within the GOP. There are those who feel as though we have to get away from this issue around abortion, and then there are others who feel we got to own it. Laura Ingraham is one of the ones who, she's got a big mouthpiece on Fox News. She says this is the best thing that we've done in generations, is the reversal of Roe, and we have to not only own it, we have to scream it. We have to get it out there that we did it, we brought it home, and we can bring out more stuff like this. And that
well,
seems like
I hope she keeps saying it, because that is going to be the death of the Republican Party is themselves. And even Donald Trump, who has moderated his stance on abortion, he's taken credit, of course, for the Supreme Court, which he should, but he's kind of said, hey, back away from that issue. But don't forget, he's the one who in 2015 told Chris Matthews on an interview that women should be punished for getting an abortion, should be criminally punished for getting an abortion. So, don't let him get away with that. He is, even though he was pro-choice before and he'll go whichever way the wind blows, he has said that in the past.
It also bolsters the notion electorally, I think, that it doesn't matter as much who the nominee for the Democrats is if this issue is as alive as it is, because if it stands as it does now, you have an African-American woman as a running mate, and you have an 81-year-old candidate who's a sitting president running. But this issue, no matter what, the people that care about this issue are going to defer to whoever is on that ticket at that time, and that's something that's really poisonous to the Republicans as well.
And this
is
an
anti-Trump, anti-Republican vote. It's not so much a pro-Biden vote. It's we reject what these guys are doing.
As it was last time, Biden will be, Mark, historic as a president who was elected because of his ability to beat the other person and get a working class blue collar Democratic coalition together. And if he wins again this time, it will be because of something else that isn't about Joe Biden.
That's essentially what I was about to say. You said it probably more eloquently than I was about to, but it's really not a go Joe Biden vote that's coming. It's a, wow, I can't stomach the stuff that's coming out of the opposition to Joe Biden, the GOP. So, guys, thank you. So appreciate your input and look forward to more. Michael, I delighted in your latest piece on TYT, and I look forward to more. And Jim, can't wait to your column next week, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Jim Avila Michael Shure. Yeah. Right on. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.